when your skin breaks out on any area of your body that you happen to have a problem. It's very, very important to notice how you feel, how it makes you feel when that skin breaks out. As most of you know, I'm Matthew Zoltan, the author of Undo, and today I'm answering a question on the area of skin and any problems that we may have with our skin and what would be the background mental or emotional condition behind that. One thing very unique about looking at the whole picture of our body is that we're able to go beyond just one or another part, as in an organ, a particular organ, a brain, a heart, a skin, and so on, into looking at our body as a whole. It's very, very important to look at our body, and right now I'll change that to ourselves as a whole integrated being, that each part of us is equally important to every other part, and each part of us is affected by the condition of every other part, including the deeper tensions and feelings that we hold inside of us from lifelong traumas through to the way in which we think about ourselves and our emotional state on a day-to-day basis. So obviously or maybe not obviously, but I would say quite important to understand that the problems that exist for prolonged periods of time in your physical health condition or your mental health condition are related to problems that have been with you throughout your life. So generally where you've been traumatized or had some bad treatment in your life and been badly affected by it, where you've been through a situation that you haven't yet resolved. Whereas the problems that are more recent in your life or are not such a disturbance for you tend to come from just what you're dealing with now. I won't conclude on any of that at this point because I don't know exactly what your particular condition is, but today, talking on skin, I'm going to talk quite a lot. There's quite a big area. The skin is an organ. So it's a very big organ, a massive organ. And when we look at our skin is our first contact, if you like, our first physical and felt contact, our first sensation of knowing the world outside of our skin. So it's our first contact with life going on outside of us. All over our skin, we are sensing and picking up what's going on around us, in front of us, behind us, beside us, all the time. Even if we're not cognitively aware of that, our body is onto it. Our body is knowing what's going on at this sensory level all the time. So when we look at our skin, we're looking at a very, very big area. Every area of our body is covered. So our skin being when we're uncomfortable with the world outside of us, we're in conflict with the world outside of us, whether there has been conflict in the past which is not yet resolved, or whether there's conflict now which is ongoing and current, which isn't being resolved, this can, and eventually if you have a skin problem, this will show itself through some physical discomfort or physical problem that you're having in your body. Now I say physical problem or physical discomfort because I'm not seeing these things as bad or wrong or a problem. If you have skin problems, you've not got something that's bad or wrong. It's absolutely normal. So it's not your enemy. It's something coming out from inside of you to bring your attention to the surface of your body, to some part of the surface of your body, to help you understand the depths behind that surface, the depths inside of you that are being triggered by your life today. And those triggers can be from triggering very deep and long-term problems held inside of you that have not yet been resolved for one or another reason, or those triggers on the world outside of you can be just simply something that is disturbing your current inability to deal with the life you're living. And this is nobody's fault. The life you're living will only be difficult for you to deal with because you don't have the right understanding or the full understanding or the complete understanding of the life outside of you, of what's going on around you, or of your own tendencies which are being affected by that. So understanding your own tendencies is understanding yourself. And to the degree that you understand the world inside of you, to that same degree, you are able to come into contact through your skin with the world outside of you and deal with whatever it's stirring up for you, or deal with it without such a strong bias reaction to what's going on. So the more you understand yourself and the more you resolve your own personal issues that have built up in your life throughout living your whole life, the less you will be affected by life outside of you. So it's a real basic understanding you've got there. Now, when we look at our body, let's say our face. Let's say you've got problems with your skin on your face. So what have you got with your face? Look at my face. We're looking at my face now. I can't hide it. Everything's out there. I can hide the rest of my body, but I can't hide my face. So how we have a tendency nowadays to present ourselves to one another is through our face. You can't hide that. If you're having trouble with your skin, this can be something that can be very disturbing, particularly when it's out there, because what's out there, what's on your face, is showing to the world what you are hiding from within yourself, or you are hiding within yourself away from the world. In other words, things that you don't like so much about yourself, that you yourself are at odds with or in conflict with, things that you know about that you're in conflict with, you're showing to the world through the condition that your skin is in. And this can be very uncomfortable, very, very disturbing, feeling very, very exposed. For example, a lot of people get disturbed when there's a breakout of their skin. They don't want to go out in public because they feel very exposed. They feel very unclean or dirty or wrong or unhealthy or ugly. However they relate to that is something they can't hide. They can't hide feeling those ways. They can't stop themselves from feeling those ways when it's a breakout on the skin. But when the skin is perfectly fine, then you can hide the way you feel. So the condition of our skin on our body is not just on our face, of course. It can be anywhere. It could be on your hands. Let's say it's on my hands. And again, I'm making this pretty general today because it's a very big topic, skin. So let's take it away from our face and put it onto our hands. And we're having difficulty with our hands. We're having pain, or we're having skin peeling, or rashes, or inflammation in our skin, dryness of our skin. There's different conditions that will occur. And of course, there's internalized conditions, mostly probably from the liver actually, but there's internalized conditions that have an effect on our skin. But what I'm talking about today is the whole picture. I'm including, okay, there's going to be all sorts of physical reasons why you've got problems with your skin, but why are all those physical reasons there? So we're going to start with the skin, because the skin is the thing that's out there. So here you are, you've got problems with your hands. This is an example. Your hands are very much to do with feeling in control or out of control. In control of your life or out of control of your life. That isn't necessarily to do with your life right now, today. This can be a way in which you felt when you were younger. This can be a way in which you felt at some point in your life, in some situation or circumstance in your life, which had a very deep and harmful effect on you. So this is, if you like, a type of traumatic effect, something that stays with you. And what I'm calling trauma is that which you are incapable of dealing with at the time of the event. So you're unable to deal with it, unable to process it, either because of your age or the intensity of it. Being unable to deal with it, you block it out, or you suppress it, or you simply stop thinking about it, which is how you suppress it. You ignore it. And in ignoring it, eventually you completely lose contact, mental contact or cognitive memory of these events in your life that you found overwhelming. Not all of them, of course, but with serious trauma, you do. And then with whether this is a serious trauma or just a type of agitation inside of you that you may know about, but you don't hardly think about, but it still comes up every now and then in your life on your skin. This is something from within you coming out, being triggered by the demands of life today, or triggered by the pressures on you in general, and bringing out your weaker points. Your weaker points are the points at which you've been damaged or harmed and are yet to resolve. or have not been able to resolve. So they're your fragilities. They're not wrong. You should be like that. You're like that because of what you've been through. So they're not wrong. They're just difficult to live with until you find a way to resolve them. And what's very powerful about the natural meditation of the body is this is exactly one very big part of what it teaches you to heal, is these many, many life effects that are within you that you haven't found a way to deal with before. The way to deal with them is very much explained, very clearly explained in our Undo app. And the way to deal with them is, I'll give you a very quick explanation now, is ultimately to come back to how it makes you feel as a person. So let's say you've got disturbance on your hands. Just recently I was working with a young lady who's probably about 25 years old. And every now and then throughout her whole life, as far back as she can remember, her hands have peeled and, from time to time, not all the time, and flared up and become very tender and very sore and dry and crack and all different types of things. Now, she's had a very difficult life, and as she's gone on through her own investigation, her own healing process, she's managed to resolve that to a certain degree, or to a massive degree actually. Yet it's still there. There's still aspects of that are not fully finished yet, because it was such a traumatic life that she's led. This flaring up of her hands is still there, but it's getting less and less and less and less. Now, what is this? Is an area where, even as a child, she felt she was forced to do things with her hands that she didn't want to do. She was forced to do things with her hands that made her feel repulsed, made her feel very uncomfortable or disgusting, let's say. This was one particular case. So whenever these problems would reoccur on her hands, I would get her to just remind her, okay, come back to what really is the way you feel about your hands and the skin on your hands being in this condition. And this ultimately was what she learned to do, was get right back into, well, what does it make me feel? How do I feel? And it was, I feel repulsed and I feel disgusted. And of course, she felt out of control. She had no way to control this situation. So she was in quite clearly, whatever the situation was, which caused her great distress, to feel bad about herself, to feel disgusted in herself, and to feel repulsed. And so this, getting in touch with those feelings, is what is actually the feelings driving this condition from time to time, or if it's there all the time, driving that condition on the skin of the hands the whole time for this particular person. So basically, this is an example of showing that in one area of the body, being the hands, where we take control of our life to a certain extent, and we're in control and we're doing things with our hands, where we are using our hands in a certain way. If in this case of the girl, we're using those hands in a way she didn't want to use them, and the actual situation was causing her to feel a particular way. So that sense of not having the choice, not having the control of the situation, was predominantly the basis of why there were skin problems on her hands. Now, by feeling that distress that she was feeling, and by anybody having this type of problem, by feeling whatever distress that you are feeling, when your hands break out, when your skin breaks out, and now I'm going to expand that, when your skin breaks out on any area of your body that you happen to have a problem, notice, it's very, very important to notice how you feel, how it makes you feel when that skin breaks out, and what it causes you to worry about, what it causes you to feel paranoid about, or to feel embarrassed about, or to feel exposed about. Because your skin is very much an exposure of your internal condition. So this exposure of your internal condition is exposing that which you can choose to hide, because it's inside of you. And you may even hide that, and we do hide that from ourselves. And this is what we call subconscious, that which we have learnt to ignore, and therefore made ourselves ignorant about ourselves, and hidden that within ourselves. Ignored that within ourselves. But what we can't ignore, fortunately, is the feeling of the presence of these things, the presence of the feeling of these things that we don't like, that we find disturbing, are the disturbances that we feel underlying most of the time, even if we don't know what they are. And when they show up in our body, when whatever illnesses or ailments show up on our body, and today I'm talking about our skin, this is the body's way of expressing and communicating this from the inside to the outside, bypassing our cognitive recognition of ourselves. So therefore, it is an immediate expression of this is the problem. And you don't necessarily have to know what the exact circumstance was, but what you do need to know and do need to get back in contact with was how this skin condition is making you feel about yourself. Whatever that sensation happens to be, may be quite difficult for you to recognize. It might be quite difficult for you at first to even feel it, because you've spent your life ignoring it and trying to avoid feeling the ways you don't like to feel. You may, for example, have a rash on your bum, or a rash on the back of your thighs. You think, oh, it's just because I'm sitting down all day and it's sweat and so on. No, take it further than that. Look a little deeper than that. Yeah, you have a rash on your bum or on your thighs, you can hide that from people. But then, if you're a younger person, particularly if you're a younger person, you're thinking, oh my God, what if I meet a man or I meet a woman and, I have an intimate relationship and they see this rash on my bum or these pimples on my bum? How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? Isn't that something you worry about? Even though might not be a situation in your life right now, you may be a single person, and yet you'd still, when this rash comes up, you're worried about it. You're worried about if anybody else is going to see it, because for now you can hide it. But what if you've got to get on the beach and wear your bathers and so on? Or there's another area, it might be on your back, and what you have occur on your back, it might get maybe pimples or a breakout of some sort down on your back. And this is okay because it's behind you. It's what you don't want to see. It's what you generally don't show to the world willingly. But it's still there, and it's there, and you feel embarrassed about it. How do you feel about it? Or the other thing with skin conditions is it's an aggravation. Yeah, it can be very painful and very irritating. And so, in general, when we look at that, wherever that happens to be in the body, if it's at your back, it'll be to do with something. I'm generalizing the whole back here. It'll be to do with something you don't show to the rest of the world, to do with your skin as well. You don't show it to the rest of your world. You don't willingly show it to the rest of your world. Only people will see it who are behind you. Whereas the skin on the front of your body is what you're showing to the world, more so. Not as much as your face, because you can cover it up with clothing. But still, it's there. And it's there, even if it's hidden with your clothing. But it's there, and you're uncomfortable with people knowing this about you, even though you don't know what it is. But there's a feeling that you don't want to expose yourself to other people. You don't want to show yourself to other people. So the feelings or you may have feelings at very specific areas. Very, very specific areas. Let's say you have a tendency to get rashes on your feet. And what are your feet to do with? They're to do with your foundations, your ability to stand firm on your own 2 feet, your ability to feel supported by your own foundations. And primarily, we've all got our foundations through our childhood. We all got our foundations which we stand on from the way in which we were brought up as a younger person, and then that to support us, to be there for us, our own foundations, to be there for ourselves in our later life, in our adult life. So when you have a lot more skin issues around your feet, then you'll find this is a lot to do with you not feeling particularly solid on your own foundation. Standing on your own 2 feet is something which you do, but you find it extremely difficult at times, even though you may not admit it. But if you think about it and take your time to really notice how you do feel about that skin condition on your feet, and of course it hurts and it's uncomfortable. You can say, I picked something up in the shower, but not everybody picks something up in the shower. Don't fob it off saying, it's just something we catch. When we have problems with our feet, we'll find that this is more to do with our ability to stand on our own 2 feet, and depending on how bad that skin condition gets. So that shows how extreme our disturbance we have, or the difficulties we have with standing on our own 2 feet. Let's say we have a skin condition on our head. Yeah, this is very common. Dandruff and the itchy scalp and a raw scalp and the skin peeling off all the time. And this can be quite hidden because you have hair. If you have hair, it's quite hidden. But also, if you have hair, it gets even hotter. So why do we have this type of condition? Because our energy is too high, meaning our energy is too intense in this area of our head. So we think too much. We put too much force and effort into getting things right in life. We worry, we're frightened, we're irritable, agitated, and perhaps even quite angry at times. Now, I'm not saying we would necessarily appear that way on the outside, because what we like on the outside and what we like on the inside doesn't always match up. But what shows up as our physical condition, that does match up with what we are on the inside. How we display that through choice, not necessarily. So we may have a lot of anger inside of us that we simply don't feel okay about expressing or even feeling. This is another topic all on its own. But what I have here, I'm talking about the head. So we have this problem in the area of our head where the energy is too high. So what do we do about this? We need to feel when we get really upset, we get really fired up, and we find our head starts to itch when we're worrying about something. At different times in our life, you get really itchy on your head and your scalp gets worse than other times. Now, when this is happening, it's time to notice exactly how you feel with that. You'll feel agitated, you'll feel irritated, you'll feel you're putting pressure and force on yourself to operate in life. So you're thinking too much about life. So you need to get your energy down to be included more, bringing the intensity of that energy down into your body more. It's not so much that you have to do any energetic exercises, although they can help, but more notice that you are thinking too much and you're trying too hard, and just come back to the deeper feelings in your chest and down into your stomach and into your torso, and notice how all that also feels in there, and get in touch with these deeper driving forces behind this manic mental energy of trying to control your life and worrying so much about it. Come back to what's making you try so hard, what's making you work so hard. And the feeling behind it is, you'll find what if I don't work hard enough? What if I don't try hard enough? What if I get it wrong? And that agitation that comes with yourself if you don't achieve what you're supposed to achieve. So this head energy is a big problem, because people tend to think too much, no longer realizing that the biggest part of their intelligence, even physically the biggest, is down lower, is in their body. And in their body, in their torso, of course your head is part of your body, but we tend to have too much going on here with all the senses and all the information firstly coming in through these sense organs. We also have this information coming into our body and felt deeper in our body when we see something or hear something. We don't have to deal with it always at that first level, which is, what is that? And we think about that, which we sensed. You don't need to do that. What you can do is, rather than always trying to keep up with everything, always trying to be on the ball, just let yourself not keep up, and let that, what you're sensing and what you're worrying about, bring that back into that whole sense of that feeling. See if you can feel that also connecting through deeper into your body, into your torso, into your stomach, into your chest, into your lungs, and you start to feel the tensions that you're carrying there. So feeling these tensions that you're carrying there, you're bringing this intensity down into your body, and you've got a lot more space and a lot more room and a lot more ability to resolve that heady tension in your stomach, in your chest, because here there's not so much cognitive complex thinking. And so therefore there is much more feeling. And feeling these tensions in your body, these feelings, these tensions that are coming up in respect to different areas of your skin is how you start to get in touch with and heal and resolve the distresses that you are holding inside your body, holding inside of you, the body, which are becoming the skin problems over and over again. So this is, as I said to start with, this is your first contact with the world. And how you feel at your first contact with the world is stimulated. And that stimulation is stimulating what is inside of you, particularly that which you hide inside of you, which you may not be so aware of at first. And so coming into contact with the world on a day-by-day basis is always challenging the greater whole of ourselves, challenging more of us than sitting at home alone. And so that challenge is to aspects of ourselves that we are yet to come into contact with, or we don't like to come into contact with. And how do we first come into contact with is that how are we feeling? How do we feel coming out into the world? That may give you some insight into what the conditions of your skin are about. And then when you isolate that down to the different areas of your body that your problems are with your skin, you can relate that back to the areas in the app, which means if you've got problems on your legs, you can look at legs and you'll get into more understanding of the legs and why there'd be problems on the skin of your legs. Or if you look at feet, you'll find things there as well, foundation and so forth. If you look at your back, you'll also find things there. Every other part of the body is broken up and in the app as its own expression of the characteristics that we actually express through that part of the body. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. It'll be at least a beginning, and this is a very big area that is the mind-body connection, what I'm calling the body tension translator. And it's a very big area and a very important area because it's really giving you the link between your physical condition and the underlying feelings or emotional or mental conditions that are expressing themselves as these what you see as imbalances in your physical condition. Okay, so this is a very good thing to look at. Why? Because then you can begin to reconnect with these feelings inside of you, and with the natural meditation of the body, just being with the feelings of those every time they come up. You'll find every time they're stimulated, every time you become aware of feeling them, by just being with those, you'll find that over time you'll get greater insights into your own unresolved nature, and also you will resolve or gradually relieve yourself of these tensions that have built up throughout your life, causing these physical conditions that you suffer today.